Hi, welcome. I'm Dave Stiegel from Lawton Cates, and today we're going to talk about the number one thing you can do to protect yourself during a police investigation. As always, if there's anything I say that you have a question on or want to respond to, feel free to leave a comment somewhere beneath the video, or you can contact me directly. My contact information, website, email, phone number is all located in the description to this video and on this channel. So this topic, the number one thing you can do to protect yourself, is something that I address with nearly all people that I talk to that are in a police investigation or that have already spoken to the police and maybe been arrested or charged with a crime. And here it is, I'll just cut right to it. The number one thing you can do to protect yourself is to not answer any police questions. It's that simple, or at least it sounds that simple, but in practice, a lot, and I do mean a lot of people, say a lot of things that do not help themselves during the police investigation. Your goal should be not to be that guy, so to speak. You don't want to say anything to the police. There's some misconception in this area, so I'll try and clear it up, at least somewhat briefly. First, you should assume that anything you say to the police officer in today's day and age is going to be recorded and used against you in some manner. Okay, it's either going to be recorded on a squad camera or a body camera or some kind of cell phone. You should just always operate under the assumption that what you are saying is being recorded, especially when you're talking with a police officer. Now, the police are not always required to read you your rights, the Miranda rights, the Miranda warnings. You've undoubtedly heard them, or at least somewhat familiar with them. Your right to an attorney, your right to remain silent, the warning that anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. On that last point, I can assure you that is the case. I used to be a prosecutor in the Milwaukee County DA's office. I saw firsthand the devastating impact, or I should say the direct relation between the more people said to the police, the more likely it was that they were convicted in court. Okay? So, the police are required to advise you of your rights when two things are going on. One, you have to be in custody. So whether you're in custody for purposes of Miranda analysis is a little more nuanced than I have time to explain in this video. However, safe to assume that if you were arrested, handcuffed, put in the back of a police car, and driven to the police station, you would be considered to be in custody for purposes of Miranda. The second thing that must be going on is the police must interrogate you. Interrogation means the cop is going to ask you a question or ask you a question where it's reasonably likely that you may give an incriminating response. So, for example, if I was pulled over for drunk driving and the police officer asked me, is this my car, or have I been driving, or more appropriately, have I been drinking? All of those questions would be considered interrogation because it's at least reasonably likely that I may say something incriminating. Incriminating simply means against my own legal rights, something that's going to help the cop either get me charged with a crime or arrest me. It's important to remember that constitutional rights, or these Miranda rights, only apply to state actors. They don't apply to private security guards, they don't apply to some coaches, they don't apply to your parents, they only apply to a government actor. Most commonly, it's a law enforcement officer, a police officer, a sheriff's deputy, an FBI agent, a federal agent, things of that course, okay? So if you're not in custody and they're not interrogating you and they're not a state actor, they don't have to read you your Miranda rights, okay? If all three of those are present, then they have to read you your rights. And here's my simple rules of thumb. The first rule of thumb is if you're ever read your rights, they should read your rights to you. The cop should ask you if you understand them. And then it should ask you something along the lines of, knowing you have these rights, do you wish to make a statement? And your answer, 100% of the time, should be no. Absolutely no. It sounds easy. I'm assuming you're hearing this video. You're probably nodding up and down and say, geez, Dave, I know that. But I cannot stress to you how emphatically enough how important it is that you do not answer any questions and you invoke either your right to silence or your right to an attorney. Okay? The second rule of thumb is there's lots and lots of times where the police are not required to read you your rights. They don't have to read your rights because you're either not in custody, they're not going to interrogate you. Not being in custody is the main workaround. The police they're familiar with Miranda. It's been around since the 1960s. The cops are also familiar with the fact that they want you to say something because you're probably going to make their job easier for them by saying or admitting to something that they think you did or have suspicion of. Okay? So, a police officer, at least a savvy police officer, can do all of his or her questioning of you or a suspect without ever having to read Miranda rights, simply by delaying the time I put you in custody. It works like this. If I come up to you or pull you over and I'm a cop and I want to ask you questions, as long as I don't put you in custody, I don't have to read you your Miranda rights. I could, in my head, no, I'm going to arrest you as soon as I'm done talking to you, but that doesn't matter. All that matters is when you are arrested. So I can ask you all your questions without having to tip you off by reading you Miranda. You can answer all my questions, and if I have probable cause to arrest you, I get to do it immediately thereafter, and I never have to read you your rights. So there's a lot of confusion on that. There's going to be a lot of confusion if and when you're ever called by the police or find yourself in this situation. Your mind is going to be spinning 1,000 miles an hour. You need to remember, do not say anything. The police are going to do whatever it is they're going to do regardless of whether you talk to them. If they have probable cause to arrest you, trust me when I tell you, you're not going to talk your way out of it. Okay? Your best move here always is to consult with an attorney before you make any statements to the police. It could be that there's a good reason for you to talk to the police. You can do so at any point after your conversation with a police officer, but you don't want to do it unless and until you consult with an attorney to make sure that it's in your best interest to do so and not in the cop's best interests. Okay? I hope that's helpful. Again, if you have a question, something, an experience that you went through, or a friend or a family member, or if you just want me to have you tell you exactly and precisely what I would recommend in your situation, feel free to contact me at your convenience. I would be more than happy to help you. Again, my name is Dave Stiegel. I'm a shareholder at Lawton Cates. Thank you for your time.